Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Brother Not Brother. Today, as you can see, we're in the kitchen and we're baking. Cooking? Frying? We'll get to all that. So, I saw a video from a YouTube channel called Emmy Made, and she made these things called Goodwill Burgers. They're from the Great Depression era, and they're basically really cheap burgers. You could get them for 10 cents a piece, and people would eat them by like 5 at a time. So, with that information, as well as her recipe, I'm kind of thinking they're a little bit like White Castle burgers, you know, kind of small. But we're gonna go ahead and try and make it myself. So, and then we'll of course have my brunette bombshell try it and give you guys a verdict of maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't, or you know, everyone's rumoring about some impending recession that might, you know, end the world. I don't know. But we can definitely, you know, maybe use this as a guide like, hey, you know what, save a buck this way. So to start, we're actually going to start over here with preparing our topping. It is a slaw that goes on top, and so I'm going to start by getting some cabbage, and you need about a cup of shredded cabbage. So I'm going to go ahead and peel this guy up and then shred some. We're just going to cut some shreds off of this, thin slices kind of thing, and it'll essentially shred it for you. Alright, so we got our cabbage here. I'm going to just go ahead and toss it in this bowl, and the reason I'm starting with this is actually I'm deviating from Emmy's recipe a little bit here. And so in her recipe you got about a cup of cabbage here, and then you use a half a teaspoon, half a tablespoon of salt and sugar. Whoa. Teaspoon, not tablespoon. Sorry guys. Teaspoon, not tablespoon of salt. Sorry. And so this, I'll actually let it soak because the salt will break down the cabbage a little bit, get some of the juices out, so it'll be a juicier slaw that'll go on top, because that'll bring out the salt will bring out the moisture, from what I remember from other cooking videos I've seen. So we're going to set that aside and get on to our burgers. Alright, so the recipe is basically you take 5 pounds of meat and you can make 100 burgers. Today I'm not making 100 burgers, but I do have 1 pound of meat, and so we're going to make about 20 burgers. So what you need to do is they would take day-old hamburger buns, and so I've got some dried out hamburger buns. I left these out to be stale, or to get stale, and I think you take 5 of these and you'll actually dunk them. This is a bowl of water. Dunk them in water, wring them out, and then crumble them into your hamburger meat. So let's go ahead and start doing that here. If weird textures bother you, you might want to wear gloves for this, or also make sure you don't leave them in the water too long, because then they get soggy pretty quick. They're like really great sponges. They just absorb it all real fast. And I think the reason they did soak them is because, like, if it's stale bread, it'll, you know, make it a little softer, easier to mush up into our burger here. So 5 buns per pound. It works out to be, if you're doing 100 burgers, you'll need 20 hamburger buns. Is that right? Don't count my math, but you can do the math. 5 per pound. All right, so now we're going to season this, and they use a very simple seasoning back then. You can season this however you'd like. However, the way that the Goodwill burger is seasoned is they use a 1 teaspoon of salt. The recipe is not super exact, so we got a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon, half a tablespoon of sage. I would recommend using ground sage rather than, I just have, what is this called? Rubbing sage, but that's all I have. And then we have some chili powder. It is also half of a tablespoon. I actually go a little lighter just because the missus doesn't like it too spicy. So I typically will take out about a quarter of whatever it recommends. And then lastly is a really weird one. I don't know why, perhaps this was more available back then, but this is soy flour. So they used to use soy flour here, and what that is if you've ever had bacon or some like bacon bits that's like not actual bacon, it's typically textured vegetable protein is what it typically is. And this is essentially a flour version of that. So I bought this on Amazon. I have a link down below because I couldn't find it at my local grocery store, and like even Walmart charged like $11 for this exact same thing that I got on Amazon for I think $6 or $7. So half a cup of this, which is a third of the package that I bought. And now we will just mix it up until it's one homogeneous thing. That is an interesting smell. Like the bread and that soy flour. It almost reminds me of like cereal or breakfast time. I don't know how to describe that. You know, you don't have to use day-old bread or the stale bread. You can use some fresh bread, and that'll probably mix in a little easier. Just make sure we get this all mixed in nicely. This almost reminds me of like meatloaf, where you add breadcrumbs to it and season it. But you know, the addition of this soy flour gives it a very tan color. I don't know how well you can see that on camera. If you can't get the soy flour, you can always get textured vegetable protein if that's something that's readily available in your area. And then just put it in like a blender or something to mix it up or grind it down to like a powder. All right, so we'll bring it in close for you. You can kind of see it's not quite hamburger looking anymore. It's much more tan in color. So there you go. Let's go ahead and portion this out into our 20 burgers. I actually did prep ahead of time. I forgot to tell you guys about this. I have a whole bunch of parchment paper or wax paper. Either one will do to put the burger patties on while we're prepping. So that'll hold it down. Throw our first little piece of paper there and see if we can grab about an ounce. Well, that's 1.5. These are tiny little burgers. Okay, 1 ounce. There's our first one, and we shall continue. And you know what, I'm just gonna handle this to turn it into like one cohesive piece. It'll make my life easier later. All right, and now we begin. All right, and that's 20 patties. So I did my math wrong, or I weighed wrong, I don't know. Either way, the 20 patties, who'd have thunk this tiny little stack here is 20 skinny little patties. But I'm gonna wash my hands now, and then we get to start frying. All right, so back then, I guess they used lard. The stories that were told said that they cooked it in copious amounts of lard. I don't have lard. I could get it, but I don't know when I'm going to use lard ever again. So I'm just going to use butter, copious amounts of butter. You know, I'm just going to throw this whole thing in there. Got a medium-high skillet here. You can use your biggest flat pan is what I would recommend for this. And essentially, from what I understand, is it was basically being shallow fried in the pan here. While this butter is melting, let's check on our cabbage over here. As you can see, we have water here at the bottom from the cabbage. Just like I said, the salt will kind of break that down and soften that cabbage to be still crunchy, but a little bit more watery in that slaw there. I don't know if how well you can see the moisture that's come off of that. Back in the Depression, I'm sure they used lard, probably because it was just, you know, whatever animal fat that was left over. So you could use bacon grease, you could use, you know, any fat that you want. But we got this sizzling, so we're gonna go ahead and turn it down a little bit. We're gonna go to just above medium and throw this guy on. There we go. Start stacking those guys over here. Just like that. Looks like my pan will hold about 3 at a time. These guys are starting to cook down a little bit. We got room for a 4th one in here. These are very fluffy, but the bottom of this one's already turning golden brown. It's kind of impressive. It's not quite what I would expect, but they're cooking. It's that, you know, soy flour and the bread is getting toasty. You can definitely smell, it smells like buttered toast now because I have butter in there, on there, and then you have the toast, the bread in there just toasting up with the meat. It does smell a lot like buttered toast coming off of this thing. And as you guys can see here, they are shrinking up quite a bit from what they were before. That one's shrinking up especially. Let's go ahead and finish cooking off the rest of these. Alright, so the burgers are done. Now we just gotta finish our slaw here. So the sugar and the salt has dissolved into the cabbage. And now the recipe was a very simple slaw. They called for vinegar. I got some, a half of a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar here. I'm not even sure I wanted all of that, but there it is, half of a tablespoon. And then the recipe doesn't call for it, but I like it in my slaw. A little bit of mayo. About a tablespoon there. And we'll mix all that up. All right, now we got a very simple slaw all mixed up and incorporated into this thing. Mine's a little wetter than the original recipe, but this is the slaw that I prefer. And then let's go ahead and prep our burgers. All right, so let's go ahead and make a couple of burgers since they said that they made them 5, they ate them 5 at a time. We'll start with just 2. So it said that the burgers were served with mustard and slaw. Very simple, so we're gonna just put a little bit of mustard on the bottom of the bun here. There we go. And then let's grab a burger. So I cooked these all a little bit differently. Some are a little bit more done, some are a little bit less done. They're definitely very light and very small, as you can see already. And then we'll go ahead and grab a little bit of our slaw here, stack that on top. There we go. Our bun, and there you have it. The Goodwill Burger. All right, we can see we have our Goodwill Burger here with a little bit of mustard, our slaw, the burger. It's definitely a little bit lighter than it's definitely lighter than a regular burger. Let's go ahead and give her a taste. So I'm gonna start with the lighter one, then we'll go to the crispier cooked one and give you my opinion. That's not bad. Like, I almost question if there's meat on it. It's almost like having a ham sandwich. The crunch of the slaw is nice. The mustard works well with it. I was worried about the apple cider vinegar. Like, It's not terrible. I can't really say, oh hey, there's that. It's a little salty, whether that's coming from the slaw or the burger, or maybe it's the mustard throwing off all the other flavors. I don't know. You think? You think it might be the slaw? You think, Grant? It's all right. No, that was a less well done burger. It wasn't cooked as brown or as crispy. Now I'm gonna go ahead and try the one that I cooked a little bit more well done. Now I get a little bit more of a, what do you call that? It's not a crunch necessarily, but a snap. Not even a snap, it is a crunch. A crunch is probably the best word. A little bit more crunch from the burger itself, you can tell. Like biting into something that's been fried and crispy, as opposed to the difference of the crunch of the fresh vegetable, the fresh cabbage. I like that much better. If I got into a situation where I was making these, I probably wouldn't use the soy flour stuff, but using day-old bread to make our burgers go further, I think that's an awesome plan there. The sage, I'm not getting a whole lot of it, but maybe we should try a burger on its own. So, got a bit of a bready smell. The meat looks kind of juicy almost. Like you can definitely pick out, like, I got a little piece of bread here that wasn't completely mixed in, but it's actually pretty good. The sage really comes out when it's on its own, but the sage kind of gives it like a breakfasty taste to it. I don't know. It's good. Eating that on its own is kind of nice. I don't know if you can hear the crunch from all the way over there, but it's got a nice crunch to it. A little crispiness. That's good. I'm gonna start mixing it up and make some, I don't know, more interesting burgers for me. My thought is to make it a cheeseburger and probably do like a double. I got some American cheese slices to go with it. So I'm actually gonna take these guys and throw them in the toaster for a minute just to melt the cheese, and then we'll throw our burgers on and see what else I'd like to do. All right, now I got my double cheese Goodwill burger. We got some melted cheese, American cheese in there, and then I put my mustard and slaw in the middle. I wonder if that'll change the flavor profile more than the American cheese will. Double the meat makes a difference. So I know these were meant to like stretch out and go further, but having a double patty burger, yeah, that's a good burger. That's awesome. The cheese definitely helps, but the flavor of the meat really comes through when there's more meat, or, you know, patties. I don't know if it's a meat, but you know what I mean, right? Now we're gonna have to get our opinion from the brunette bombshell. She's in study apparel and she doesn't want to be on camera, so I'm going to prepare one for her. Just like before, we got just mustard on the bottom. Oh, we're getting in there. And then we'll grab a patty. I recommend the crispier one, just because, you know, you get a little bit of crispiness to that. And then just a touch of slaw here. She doesn't love slaw, so we're just gonna go light on it. Just a little bit of slaw on our burger, or patty, or whatever you wanna call this. And that is it. Goodwill burger for the brunette bombshell. Go ahead and try it and tell us what you think. Can you even taste the patty?
Barely. Yeah, it's fine. It's a little salty.
That's what I was thinking too. I think it's because of the vinegar in this, and then there's also salt in the slaw too. I followed her recipe. I think, honestly, she probably had more like 2 cups of cabbage shredded rather than 1, and I only used 1. Because like there's enough leftover stuff here for more to make double what I made, or even maybe more, who knows. But what do you think?
Yeah, tastes good.
Does the cabbage make it worse or no?
No, like I said, I would just say it's salty.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really like super salty things.
Okay.
My mouth feels dry. But it tastes good.
Well, there you go. Unfortunately, you don't get to see her reaction, but you get to hear it. And I hope you appreciate this video. If you want to see the Emmy's, from Emmy Made's video on this, I'll link it down in the description below, as well as the Amazon link to the textured vegetable protein, what is it, soy flour. She also gives a lot more context on Goodwill stuff and history behind it all, so you can go to that video, check it out. I'll try and link it up in the corner. I don't know if it's here or here. One of these corners will have a little eye icon you can click on, and it'll have a link to Emmy's video. And thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up. Make sure you leave a comment down below with what you guys want to see next. Thank you, and
don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.
Don't forget to like, comment, share. If in case I didn't cover it, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Check us out on all of our social media down here, and we'll see you guys in the next video.
Bye.
Bye.